Now I'm going to go over several medicinal herbs, 13 to be exact, that are my favorite and my go-to. Now this list is by no means all inclusive because there are so many herbs that can do so much. But these are just the ones that I have. These are the ones that I feel that myself or someone in my family would need. And that's the first thing that you need to do. You need to determine what your family's needs are. What are your needs? What is something is, do you have headaches a lot? Or do you have an issue with this or that? And concentrate on the herbs for your particular ailments or things that you may need that goes on in your family. Nobody can dictate that to you. The ones that I am going to go over today, they're very common herbs. They're easy to find, they're easy to grow, and they help a lot of common ailments that a lot of us tend to have. So that's why I've chosen these. I have even more in my cabinet, and I'm growing more, and I will continue to grow more. Some of them are very invasive. So you probably want to grow those in a container or a section of your garden that you don't mind having these items grow and be invasive and take over a whole complete section. Because we don't know what the next 4 years will bring, we need to be ready. So this year, while you're planting your garden, please add medicinal herbs on there. And if you grow nothing else, because a lot of these can be grown inside on your kitchen counter, grow the medicinal herbs that you and your family needs. We're going to start off with dill. This is my dill, okay? It's time for me to start growing it because as you see, I don't have much left in here. I use dill a lot. Dill is one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite culinary herbs as well as medicinal herbs. I use it for my salad dressings. I use it just to sprinkle on top of things. If I make a homemade pizza, I still put dill on it. It's also excellent whether you're going to quick pickle or actually pickling something or canning something, and dill is perfect for that. However, on the medicinal side, dill is great for upset stomach, bloating, gas, anything like that. It's also very gentle, so you can make a cup of tea and put some dill in it, even if a child has an upset stomach, and let them sip on that, and you'll be amazed at how well it can work. It's also good for painful menstruation. So if you're at that age and you have those problems, try dill. Sage is another one. And I am so glad that I have this sage right here. I have been trying for a long time to grow sage, and I have been unsuccessful until this past year. And guess what? We have had freezing temps. We've had snow. We've had ice. We've had temps in the teens this year, and my sage is still growing. But it did not grow well for me until I actually did companion planting, and I planted it with my rosemary. And it's still out there growing. Now, mostly when it comes to sage, of course, I love it for culinary. It's a earthy herb, and it cooks well in stews and things like that. And of course, we use it for our stuffing and our dressing, things of that nature. But on the medicinal side of sage, it is excellent for mouth problems. You have a toothache, you have a sore throat, you have a mouth ulcer, something of that nature. Sage works wonders. It can also help with brain functions such as memory. So I incorporate multiple herbs into a cup of tea. I'll have a cup of tea, maybe a cup of green tea, and to it I'll add some sage, some thyme, some rosemary. I add different herbs to my green tea all the time, and that's how I get it. But it's also good for menopausal symptoms and issues as well. That's your sage. Yarrow, which I don't have any, but I plan to grow it this year. Yarrow is something we all should have. And some of these herbs are good because you don't have to tend to them very much, but they are there if you need it. And yarrow is good to stop bleeding. I don't care if it's a paper cut or a deep wound. You will be amazed at how well yarrow will stop bleeding. So you need to have these things on hand if you can't get to a doctor, or it's going to cost too much, it's too far, whatever. You need to have certain things on hand, and yarrow is another one. Yarrow will also be good as a fever reducer. So that's another thing. And a lot of these herbs that I'm mentioning today, they have even more functionality than what I'm going over. I'm just pretty much talking about the things and the reasons why I'm growing them. These herbs have a multitude of benefits. Chamomile. Chamomile is amazing. It's soothing. It's gentle. It helps with sleep. You have a restless night. It's also very gentle. So maybe if you have kids and they're tossing and turning for whatever reason, they just can't get to sleep, a cup of chamomile tea is amazing. Chamomile, although most people know it for its calming effects, because of its calming effects, it can also help with upset stomach as well as be a fever reducer. So somebody's running a fever, you run out of that Tylenol or Motrin or whatever, you can hone in on your chamomile. Horseradish is another one that I am not growing, but I intend to grow. Now, horseradish is very invasive. So you want to grow it probably in a pot or knock off a section so it won't just take over your entire yard, but it is extremely invasive. It is great for urinary tract infections. It's also great for sinuses as well as bronchitis or bronchial problems that you'll have. And let me just stop right here for a second because I'm giving you information about the herbs that I'm growing and the uses of them. But just let me say this, that I am not a nutritionist, dietitian, doctor, or in the medical field. Always consult your medical advisor, your doctor, before you make any changes or incorporate anything different into your specific diet. This is not to be considered medical advice. I am just sharing with you what I use and what I do and why. I'm not a fan of cooking with horseradish. I really don't necessarily like the taste, but I think it's something good to grow and have on hand. This is actually Thai basil, but holy basil. Holy basil. Actually, any basil, but holy basil is really the one you want to grow for medicinal purposes. But this is Thai basil, and I use it when I don't have holy basil, and so far it's been pretty accurate. So holy basil is excellent for stress relief, both mentally and physically. Sometimes our body is just tired and kind of achy. Holy basil is excellent for that. Holy basil is also in a lot of like mouthwashes and things because it's good for mouth issues, toothaches, sore throats, things of that nature. And it's used, like I said, in a lot of mouthwashes for that purpose. But it's only pretty much when it comes to the mouth that it's actually antibacterial. And because it's antibacterial, it works well with the mouth. It can also be used as an antidepressant. Echinacea on the list. And with echinacea, it's actually the roots of the plant that you want. So when you have to make sure you're growing it on a consistent basis. You won't need to do anything. Once the roots get established, it will continue to grow and spread itself. If you're growing it in a pot, like I grow everything in a pot, then if I pull it up, I'm going to need to regrow some more of it because it's the roots of it. You can actually dig up a little of the roots and take a little piece of it and just chew it. And if you have a sore throat or something like that, you'd be amazed at the difference. Just a little bit of the root, just chew on it. You don't have to swallow it or anything. Just chew on it like you chewing tobacco or something. And it works wonders. That's echinacea. Like I said, you don't have to tend to it much. It's going to do its own thing out there. And it's the roots, not the tops, that you really want on your echinacea or the leaves. Garlic, and really garlic and onion. I grow so much garlic because I actually line my pots, all of them, with garlic and onion because it's excellent for pest control. But I have some elephant garlic that I am going to be planting to actually harvest the actual garlic. I just plant any old kind for the pest and disease around my pots, but I'm going to be planting this elephant garlic to actually harvest it because garlic is amazing. It's antifungal and antiviral. Toothaches, skin infections, colds, flus, and the same with onion. So make sure you're planting garlic and onion. And yes, I go out there for my garlic, even the ones I'm growing for pests, and I do use the garlic scapes off of that. I use that just like you use green onions. It has an amazing flavor when you're cooking with it. So I always, always, always have garlic and onion growing. Oregano. I have a couple of these jars of oregano. My oregano grows so fast, I can't hardly keep up with it. I have some in my dehydrator as we speak. And speaking of dehydrator, that is what I typically do with my herbs. I dehydrate them like this. And as you can see, I put them in glass jars and I label them. I also put a dry clay pack. Looks like this. You can see that from the glare. Looks like that. I put one of these in each one of my jars for moisture. Make sure there's no moisture that's going to get into my jars. These, I like the dry clay kind because they are food grade. You can use them with food, medicine, but you can also toss it in a drawer. So it's very versatile. So these are the ones that I use, and I like these a lot. Each jar gets one. I don't care what size the jar is, it's going to get one. Small, little bitty jar, it's going to get one, okay? But oregano, the benefits of oregano: antimicrobial, antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial. So it's good for all kind of things, and research actually says that it can help in preventing cancer. So oregano is another one. Not only can you cook with it, it's not just for your pizza, okay? When I'm making my tea, like I said, I have some green tea or some black tea, and I will put these herbs in there. Just a little pinch of this, a little pinch of this. I add them all up till my little round ball is filled, or my container that I'm using for infusion is filled with all different kind of herbs. They all kind of infuse together, and depending on which ones I have and which ones I'm using at the time, that's typically my flavor profile. But oregano, make sure you're growing oregano. And again, oregano is a perennial. So I've had my oregano plant now for about 5 years. So there's no replanting. Plant it once, and the more you cut it, like any other herb, the more it'll grow. So as it grows, I just keep cutting and dehydrating, and it's still out there. Bergamot. Bergamot is actually in the mint family. And each mint in the mint family, like your peppermint, your spearmint, which I'll get to those in a minute, each mint has different properties, and they will help with different healings of different issues that you may have. So bergamot is a part of the mint family, and it is invasive. It is also antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial. When you're growing it, even though it's invasive, I put it in a container. I like to make sure it's somewhere in like the middle of my garden, for the simple fact that it is good pollinator. It will bring the good pollinators into your garden. So you want to grow it for that reason, but it also has all those, like I said, antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial. It's calming, and so it's good as a tea. Not to mention, it is also good for upset stomach, and it's good for cough and colds, things of that nature. And some of these, as I've mentioned, have duplicate or the same uses. Well, bergamot may work for me for one thing, and oregano may work for me for something else, but it might work for you for something different. Or even though I may have a couple of things that are for upset stomach, one may not work for me and my body as well as another one. So it's okay if some of your herbs have cross usage. You might find that one works better for you than another. And next up is mint, okay? As I mentioned, this is peppermint. Each one has a different property for a different use. As you can see, I'm almost out of my peppermint. I can't wait for it to start growing. The one thing about it is it'll grow. It's a perennial. So I don't have to do anything but wait for it to get warm enough to grow again. So that's amazing. I am going to start another pot out there. I have this one. I'm going to start another one because, as you can see, apparently I use a lot of mint, but I like the flavor to add to whatever combination of teas I'm using. So I use mint all the time with almost everything. I'm putting a little mint in there. It is invasive, so make sure you grow it in a pot, because if you don't, you'll have a yard of mint. But it's good for sinuses, stomach issues, and it's cooling both internally and topically. Headaches, morning sickness, and motion sickness. So if you're going on a cruise, you think you're going to have motion sickness, you want to have some mint tea available. It is a perennial. Lemon balm. I just used the last of my lemon balm. It's gentle, but it's extremely effective. Breaking fevers, colds, flus. And again, lemon balm, because of the lemony flavor, I tend to add it quite a bit to my other teas just to have that nice little lemony taste in there. It can also be used for stress relief because it has such a calming effect. It's because it's so calming, although it's very effective. It's good for kids. So, if your children are having a restless night, they just can't seem to get to sleep no matter what, maybe give them a cup of tea, and that will help them get to sleep. This lemon balm will definitely do the trick. Add maybe a little honey in there for them, and it's just amazing. Now, my absolute favorite, calendula. Calendula. it is good for pain, using it topically as well as a tea. It's not a perennial, but it's, what do you call it? Like self-seeding. In other words, if the seeds fall off, if you don't get the seeds and the seeds fall off, wherever they fall off to, they will probably grow again in that same spot the next year. So that's a good thing. I always kind of let some seeds fall and I don't have to do anything. At first, I thought it was a perennial until I realized, oh, it's self-seeding here. It is excellent, excellent, excellent for skin problems. If you have a rash or something on your skin, anything like that with the skin, calendula is amazing for it. Even wounds and diaper rash. It's antifungal. It will help with lymph. If you've got a cold and your lymph nodes are swollen, it can help with that. You can apply some of that on topically. You can also drink tea, which will help that swelling to go down, decreasing your lymph nodes back to normal. It is also great as a pollinator. Calendula will bring in all kind of, I've seen it, for me, it's brought in butterflies and bees. So it brings in good pollinators. And look how beautiful color it is. This is amazing. These were just the flowers. Again, this is dehydrated. All I did was clip the flower, the whole flower, bring it in, put it in my dehydrator. And when it was done, I just kind of crushed them up and put them in my jar. And that's it. Real easy. But because of its color, it works excellent as a dye, a food dye or a clothing dye. You can dye clothes with it, and you can also dye food with it. Like I'm going to do some Easter eggs. Calendula will give you a nice little yellow color, and it will tint other foods as well. So I love calendula for that. To me, it doesn't have much of a taste, and I don't mind that. Now, calendula is something that I can drink without adding anything else to it, but I tend to add thyme, rosemary, and sage when I'm drinking calendula, as well as black tea. That's my go-to to make the tea for this. And again, we've still put one of our dry things in here. This is my second jar. I've used up my first one. This is my second jar, so I'm hoping that spring arrives before I run out of my calendula. There are a lot of ways that you can preserve your herbs. I tend to dehydrate mine. If you have the means, you can freeze dry it as well. Some of them do well when you just freeze them. Like my garlic. When I grow my garlic, I tend to take all of my bulbs and take all the paper off, put it in my food processor, process it like it's minced, and then I'll put it in a Ziploc bag and I will mark the Ziploc bag. There's a way to mark the bags off where you have like 1 inch square. So when I get ready to cook with it, all I have to do is go in, break me off a piece, and boom, I have my minced garlic. There are so many other things, ginger and turmeric, that I could really sit here and go on and on and on. But starting off, these are the ones that I need to have, that I feel benefit myself and my family the very most. So make that decision for yourself. Figure out which ones you need. Use your journal and grow them this year. Make sure that's at one of the top of your list of things you're going to grow. If you are new to the channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. I really do appreciate you. Take a second and subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 100,000 subscribers together. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for keep coming back. I would say to my garden, but keep coming back. I appreciate you. And channel members, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. If you are not a part of the Scaredy Cat crew, check us out. Okay. Also, check out my other channels, Cooking at Pam's Place, Pam's POV, and Pam's Pop-Ups, all on YouTube. I'm Pam. This is Zone 8A. And anywhere you can set a pot, you can grow a plant.